Thank you for listening and welcome to the Life Radio Show, a once proud member of the now defunct Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network. I'm your host, Don Smith. We get a little intuitive with guest co-host Erica Russell, comedian and reader of tarot cards and natal charts. We speak with psychic medium and spiritual advisor Artie Hoffman. If you enjoy the show, like and follow the Life 1069 on Facebook and Don Smith Comedy on Twitter, or tune in live on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM, or you can stream the show live at wwsu1069.org.
The brutal presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
I'm just getting used to this new equipment for doing phone interviews outside of my radio station studio, so still hoping I work all the bugs out and everything.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. And I apologize again for the time. I don't know. I think as soon as I got done telling you 10 a.m., I put noon on my calendar and just left it that way.
Okay. Don't worry. We're all human.
Yeah, but your time's more valuable than that. I'm usually the one waiting on other people and getting mad that they're wasting my time, so I feel bad for doing that to you.
All right, well, it just so happens everything's okay with the timing and stuff, so I'm in one of those lazy kind of days, and so it's just a nonchalant day for me. I mean, I do have a couple of appointments happening. I have a reading at 1:15, so we have an hour 15 minutes till I have to get ready with that. So
okay. That should work. All right. Erica Russell is a comedian out of Cincinnati that she's here with us as well as my guest co-host. So we'll go ahead and get started in a few minutes. Erica also reads tarot cards and natal charts.
Natal charts?
I do.
Yeah.
Are you familiar?
Wow. Natal charts. Is that... Sounds fun and kinky.
No, it's just it's astrology basically. So
no, I know.
Yeah,
the kinky ones are naval charts.
Are you shuffling right now?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard something in the background.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Cards
yeah, I'm just opening up some tapes. But if you could hear that, then I'm going to stop.
You're fine. No, I just wondered, what's your method like? Do you just do purely intuitive reading? Do you do cards? Do you do?
It's intuitive. I look at angel cards. I look at runes cards, and I look at tarot cards. But I really don't. I don't read tarot cards. I just shuffle them.
Yeah.
And while I'm shuffling them or flipping them, it instantly throws messages into my thoughts.
You know, it's funny because I shuffle really fast, and then whatever falls out is what I read.
Yeah, and so even if I just take a regular plain deck of cards, I could do the same thing. I think it's just the course of the action.
Yes.
That just puts me in that meditated state. And believe it or not, I do an awful lot of readings while I'm driving.
Yep. No, I totally get that. It's nice to meet you,
Artie. People
Artie.
get nervous when I do that. I said, don't think on my behalf. I go, I'm in a meditated zone. I said, don't ruin my mojo.
Yeah, I'm better off on autopilot a lot of times.
Yeah, and I don't even know how I get from point A to point B.
No, I don't either.
I just do it, and even if I have to go over a major bridge, I honestly don't remember.
No, I'm the same way.
Did I go over that bridge or not already? Am I at that point? I have to look at the mile marker just to see where I'm at.
Yeah, you're kind of just not there. There's a quote by Dostoevsky where he talks about, when he's thinking about what he's writing, he would try to vacuum a room, and then he'd suddenly come to and be like, oh, I vacuumed, with no memory for the event because he's just kind of somewhere else.
Yeah, it's automatic pilot. I mean, I give you a lot of credit in regards to doing astrology because that involves so much detail.
I got into it during law school when I was bored. So
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said I got into it during law school when I was bored. So then I dropped out
there
of law
you
school.
Go. If you could have the mind for law school and do all that and pass the board, it's like.
I didn't. I dropped out to be a comic, but no regrets. No regrets on this end.
Well, that's all right. I tell everybody I went to the University of Maryland in Boston for 2 years, but that was just to visit my friends.
You're good people, Artie. This will be fun.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too. So I'm ready to get started anytime you want, or did we already get started?
I think we already did kind of get started, but I'll go ahead and introduce the show. I'll probably keep most of this in there anyway, just because it's a lot of good information to start off with. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey, welcome to the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith. I'm sitting in with my guest co-host for the week, Erica Russell out of Cincinnati. The very funny, and I did not know until recently that you actually did tarot card readings and natal charts and all that. I had no idea.
I'm a Renaissance woman, Don. What can I say?
You do it all. You do it all. That's fantastic.
Is her nickname Xena?
You know what? My Twitter handle's Xanax Warrior Princess.
Hey, I'm not too far off, I guess, huh?
No, that's
kind of weird,
really
actually.
Close.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to say anything now. Everything is. I'm going to have a reading whether I want to or not. I think, but Artie Hoffman is on the phone with us. Artie is you're a psychic medium and spiritual advisor. Is that a good description?
Yep, and a hell of a nice guy.
And a hell of a nice guy, yes, and very understanding when I get my time screwed up. So.
No, it's all good.
Because I know you. I guess you've been having some issues getting on podcasts lately, where they flake on you and just not interview you.
Just recently.
Okay.
Just recently. Literally, just recently. The last few, but throughout the last year and a half, never had an issue or a problem ever. And then just recently, so lately, I send out inspirational messages every single day. If people go to my website, artiehoffman.com, or go to my Instagram, Artie Hoffman, every single day you're going to see inspirational messages. And recently, I get these messages when I get in meditation. I get these messages of, like, this most powerful message that I just got this morning was, expectations is the number one killer to the soul when your expectations aren't met. So let go of your expectations and just be.
I love that.
Yeah. I always try to keep my expectations low anyway.
Yeah. When you're in a relationship, whether it be business or personal, it's natural to have expectations. There's an expectations. And expectations has to do with trust. Trust isn't just about being promiscuous. Trust also has to do with to your word. So, it's like, if you're going to be with somebody, are they to their word? There's a difference if somebody once in a while can't pull through because God knows what reason, and there's a difference between somebody who is consistent at it. If they're consistent at it, that means it's a part of their character. It's someone who you can't trust.
That's a great point.
But if you keep on allowing yourself to be with somebody who's always letting you down or not pulling through on their word, well, then that's your problem, not just theirs, because you're allowing it to happen, to continue in your life.
I like that a lot. And I like, as the astrology person here, I wondered, have these missed events and stuff, has that been over like the past 3 weeks starting or ending last Wednesday? Because we were in Mercury retrograde, and usually appointments either made during Mercury retrograde or scheduled during them, nothing pans out. It's infuriating.
Oh, yeah, Mercury retrograde sucks.
Yeah, it just got finished last Wednesday, and it's funny because I thought this was at 1 o'clock, and I hauled my butt to be here. Well, I can say ass on the show, right? I hauled ass to be here on the show today because I had it mixed up for 1. I don't know if the planetary weather has anything to do with it, but that's certainly been my experience.
So why don't you explain to everybody what Mercury retrograde, being that you're I know what it means, I know what it is, but you're the astrologer. So explain to the audience what Mercury retrograde is and how it royally sucks when we're in it.
Yeah.
I have just a vague idea of that stuff. So.
It's one of those things that even people who don't believe in astrology, and I certainly don't begrudge them that, but like once you're aware of it, it's impossible not to see because it's so strikingly true. So for 3 times a year, for about 3 weeks at a time, the planet Mercury appears from the Earth to be moving backward in the sky. And so when Mercury is in retrograde, the effect is that any kind of communications that you have, anything having to deal with moving parts, planning, logistics, your car, your computer, your phone, all of your communications, everything just kind of goes a little haywire for about 3 weeks. And, things break down out of nowhere. And then once Mercury goes back direct, they suddenly are fine. It's a weird, like all of the communications travel, flights get delayed a lot during Merc retro. That's the way I describe it, I guess.
Yeah, and also during Mercury retrograde, you don't want to start a new job. You don't want to start new relationships.
You don't want to sign contracts.
You don't want to buy a house. You don't want to buy a car. You don't want to buy anything major electronical. You don't want to start anything brand new during Mercury retrograde. It's equivalent to trying to build a home while an earthquake is happening.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. No,
so you don't want to screw up Mercury retrograde. And I got to tell you an interesting story with Mercury retrograde is that when I was in my previous marriage and we went to buy a townhouse, and this was going back, I'm not married now, but when I was married, we're going back, maybe about 30 years ago or so. My wife and I, we bought a new townhome, and one of my friends who I knew was an astrologer, but I didn't know how in depth she was spiritually. And she said to me with her beautiful English accent, she says, Audie, she says, wait until a week from now. She says, wait till Monday. She goes, we're in what we're known as Mercury retrograde. She goes, you don't want to sign or complete anything during Mercury retrograde because you're just going to have a disaster with it. Even though the townhouse is pretty well already built, you don't want to start. You don't want to sign. You just don't. So I told my wife that, and I told my lawyer, who's my good friend also. She says, I don't care what you say to them. Tell them you have to go out of town for business. Tell them whatever you got to tell them, but just you want to delay it a week. Trust me, it's going to be worth your while.
She's right.
So our townhouse was in the middle of about 6 other townhouses. We were like in the middle of it. And so we waited. My wife bought me with it, who was my wife at the time. My friend, lawyer, says, come on, it's already set up. What are you doing? This is a big thing. I said, Rich, I got to go out of town. I'm sorry, I can't. And I did. I made it wait the week. And we signed the papers. And wouldn't you know it, every unit, except ours, had major problems with construction or the foundation of their townhouses, except ours.
It's a perfect illustration. It's anything you can sign deals and make contracts and agreements during Mercury retrograde. It's just that afterward, you're going to have to go back and either renegotiate it. There are going to be massive delays in terms of executing it. Another thing that's very common during Mercury retrograde, the best use of it, because if you can't fight the energy, go with it. The best use of it, I tell people, is to go back and look at old projects. A lot of times people get back together with an ex during Mercury retrograde. It's a time to go back, revise, and redo.
I'll have to trace back and see about the time I bought the club.
There was a comedian, actually, who I heard in a podcast. She said there's a website that's literally, I think it's just, is Mercury retrograde? And it just says yes or no.
Yeah, if you want to know more about Mercury retrograde, just go to www.imscrewed.com.
Yeah, I'm thinking I must have bought the club during the Mercury retrograde because we still haven't got the liquor license transferred over. It's been.
You can go back and look. I'll do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to check that. That's.
Prince Charles and Princess Diana, they got married right at the height of Mercury retrograde, and all the astrologers, major named astrologers of England, warned them and told them, "Don't get married during this time. It's going to be a disaster." My previous wife, her best friend, I was talking to her, and she says, "Oh, I'm all excited." She goes, "I'm going to be signing for my house in 3 days. I just bought a house." I said, Hala, I said, wait about 4 or 5 days. I said, we're in Mercury retrograde. You're going to get screwed. Artie, don't do that. Can't tell that to me. Like, she's not into, like, she understands it, but she can't, like, wrap her head around spirituality and all that other, stars of Aquarius type stuff. She goes, don't tell me that. I can't deal with it. I said, Hala, wait, just wait it out. Don't wait it out. Like a jackass, she didn't wait it out. And 1 month later, I saw her again, and she looked at me with stressed eyes. She goes, Artie, I should have listened to you because after we signed, we found out we have a major crack in our built-in pool, and it's going to cost us $10,000 to get fixed, which was not spotted during the inspection.
That's the thing. It's not that the crack wasn't there. It's that if they had done the inspection when mercury was direct, they probably would have seen it.
Right. And I mean, the list goes on and on as far as wacky situations that I've personally experienced. One of my best friends, his nephew at the time was drafted by the Chicago Cubs. And, of course he has to go into the AAA, AA, has to go through the farm club. But he was drafted by the Chicago Cubs, a really good ball player. Well, he made the All-Stars every single year, and he went up every single year into higher ranks every single year. And he was even they named him the captain of the team, and he made the All-Stars, and they wouldn't draft him into the major leagues. And his friend said, I don't know why he's not in with us. He says he's just as good as we are. And his friends made it into the majors, and he didn't. And I said to my friend Rick, I said, have him wait just a week. It just so happens it's a week, right? No, it just so happened that the times when all this crap happened. And I said, Rick, no, we can't. They want him signed now. And he was being a jackass because he doesn't understand any of this crap. I said, Rick, he's not going to go as far as he could if he signs now. And sure enough, he never made it into the major leagues. He ended up getting into something else because, they don't pay you much when you're in the farm league. And he wanted to start a family in the whole 9 yards. So instead he ended up in insurance. And I mean, granted, he's successful, but still, he could have made the major leagues, and he was good enough, but didn't happen.
Here's what I like about Artie so far. It's like he could have been like the mob's resident psychic. You know what I mean? Having a plain-spoken Jersey guy just give it to you like it is. Like, yeah, I love the whole personality. What's your story, Artie? How'd you kind of get into this? How'd you figure out that you had abilities or gifts this way?
All right, I love you too. Happy Valentine's early. Happy Thanksgiving to the both of you. How I got started. Well, a plane didn't crash. I died, and I woke up with the gift. It didn't happen like that.
So it's not like the movies then.
It wasn't like a sudden death. I did have a couple of friends who actually did clinically die. They were claimed dead, and they came back, and they were born back into this world with the gift, which I find amazing. So I told God, I said, listen, I don't want to go that route. Just, I'll be good. Just give it to me, Now, it wasn't until I was 27 years old. Well, let me go back a little bit. I always wanted to become a therapist going throughout school, but I sucked at school. I sucked at scholastics. And I just sucked at it. But I wanted to be a therapist, but I didn't have the patience. I didn't have the money. And I said, oh, shoot, I have to wait all that time to get my certificate. So I never went that way. I ended up, starting my own other business that I've had now for 36 years. You'll get a kick out of this one. It's called Peeping Tom's Window Cleaning.
Oh, my, that's hilarious. Brilliant.
And on my card it says binoculars not included. So we do power washing and a whole bunch of other stuff.
That's funny.
And just this year, even though I've had the business for 36 years, just last year I thought of this really funny catchphrase that I now have on the back of my card. And it says, Peeping Tom's Window Cleaning. Everyone enjoys looking at a nice piece of glass.
Oh, my gosh. And you're not a comic as well?
Well, believe it or not, I try to do stand-up in my late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, I believe it.
And but believe it or not, I wasn't the greatest at it. Because what allowed me, I'll get back to my story in a sec, but what allowed me to be naturally funny when I speak in front of a crowd is because I'm speaking with a purpose. And spirituality I'm so passionate about that when I'm talking about, whether I'm connecting to loved ones, I go to an audience and, Don, if you wanted me to go out there and speak with, do a show there, I could. but I speak to an audience. I make it funny. I connect to their loved ones. I tell people funny stuff. You know, I create funny things that I say just to make people laugh, but people know when I'm joking and when I'm serious.
Right.
And but when I did stand-up, you know, it was all about just being funny. And I'm funny when it comes to a
You're
topic,
funny when
or
you're connecting.
When it comes to bouncing off of someone
Right.
or something, you know, I can make light of it. That's my family shtick. You know, it's like we're all like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as far as how I got started, so like I said, I wanted to become a therapist. I didn't have the scholastics for it. And here I am. I'm 27 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, and I'm not satisfied inside. You know, I'm married, have a nice house, car, financially. Everything's going fine. You know, her family loves me. My family loves her. Everything's going fine. But I wasn't satisfied inside. I knew there was more. So I'm sitting in my home office, and I said to God, God, I need clear answers. And I said, please don't scare the hell out of me when you give them to me.
No lightning bolts, please.
Yeah, and those were my exact words. I said, so I walked upstairs because my home office was in my finished basement. So I walk upstairs, and I'm in my kitchen, and there's a bunch of junk mail there, and I usually just throw it out. I have no patience for it. And so I was looking through this one set of this mail, and there was a postcard there, and it said, how would you like to develop your psychic ability and intuitiveness? Go to the Edgar Casey Foundation for this 1 weekend seminar.
Big fan of Edgar Casey.
Yeah, in Virginia Beach. And I looked at it. Now, I wasn't spiritual. I wasn't spiritual in that sense. I mean, I was a nice guy to everybody. I was, you know, I knew people. I was pleasant. But spirituality and readings and stuff, I would go for readings and people say, oh, you know, you could do this. You could do this. Yeah. I don't know jack crap. Just tell me about my future. Just tell me about my business and love life, yada, yada, yada. And so, so anyway, so I looked at it and I asked my wife, again, who was my wife at the time, I said, you want to go to this? I said, this looks pretty interesting. And I was looking at it just for like shits and giggles, not like it was the answer to my prayers. I said, just for the fun of it. And she says, I don't give a crap about that. You can go if you want. I don't want to go. So I went. And that 1 weekend seminar changed my life forever because they taught you how to open up your heart and mind to be 100% unconditional with your thoughts. So there was 50 of us from different parts of the country all in one room. And so they got us in that spiritual mode, and then they broke us up into groups, and whatever partner you're with, you're supposed to just share your feelings with that person or your thoughts or your feelings. So I was telling people what I was picking up on them, and people were telling me how accurate I was. And I was like blown out of the water that I could actually tell somebody who I never met before about what's going on or how they're feeling. I'm like, oh my God. And I was like blown out. So I go home. I'm like, you know, mesmerized by what just happened. So I went home and I got myself a deck of spiritual cards. I was reading for friends and family for a few years. Again, people were telling how accurate I was. And I take nothing for granted. I'm just telling you my thoughts. I can't guarantee any of this. And then people were consistently calling me or texting me or emailing me. Hey, Art, this happened, that happened. And I'm going, oh my God. And I was like blown out of the water just like they were about the outcome.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point in my life where I needed a lot of extra money because I made a move that cost me money. I said, what am I going to do to make some extra money? So I'm sitting on my couch, and I said to myself, you know what? I know how to do readings. I'll throw an ad in the paper, and I had it say, if I don't pull through, no charge, because I didn't want people to think I was ripping them off. And I'm asking for more money than I've ever made before in my life. So
I have the same policy.
I'm sorry?
I said I have the same policy. If it's not right, then don't pay me.
Oh, no, right now, everyone's paying me.
That's the thing.
You know why? Because I say so many things. 90% of the people paid me, and my whole endeavor took off like a bat out of hell.
Yeah.
My whole endeavor, private reads, parties, I call them arty parties.
Parties.
It just all took off like a bat out of hell. And, you know, and the rest is history. Up to date, I probably read close to, with no exaggeration, I probably read close to about 30,000 people in my life.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And, you know, it was God's, See, and I tell people, I wrote a book called Angels and Answers. You could get it off my website, artiehoffman.com, or Amazon. And in the book, I have written down, again, my story is there, and it talks about angels and answers. It explains about life in a very simplistic point of view. You're literally going to think I wrote that book just for you. And I'm talking to everyone who's listening, because not only does it explain life from a spiritual, simplistic point of view, but you're going to relate to so many things of how you feel or felt inside that's going to totally make sense. And I channeled all of this information. And like I said, I'm very proud of it. So, and God had a plan that he took away money from me to gain. And so when I lost money in the stock market that I thought was going to take off. And I literally borrowed $20,000 I did not have from two separate people, but I was so confident that they were going to make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so wouldn't you know it, 1 year later, I'm out $5,000.
Did you make that choice during Mercury retrograde?
No, it didn't. It didn't.
But you looked it up?
But I just plainly sucked at the moment. But again, God had a plan. God had a plan because I had to pay back the $5,000. So I needed to borrow another $5,000 from another friend to pay them back, plus $1,000 each that I promised them for interest. And wouldn't you know it, the split frickin' moment, with no exaggeration, both stocks started taking off. And within 6 months, one went up 100% and the other one went up 650%.
Wow.
So in my book, I said that loss was the biggest gain of my life, because I would not have done readings to be for a living, to make money. I would not have done readings for a living had I have not lost that money. And God knew.
Yeah, it
how
reminds
my mind
me.
Operates.
It brings me back to what you said. I don't know if it was during the taping, but about how freeing yourself from expectations is so important. You know, when you have expectations, they tend to rule you, and they rule your view of any given outcome. And the way that I like to approach my life, at least, is with the mindset of this is happening for me, not to me. You know what I mean? So in every given scenario, whether the outcome is favorable or unfavorable, you're thinking to yourself, you're in a constant mindset of, okay, let's say this was happening for me. Why might that be? And how can I create a better outcome with that philosophy? You know what I mean? Like you losing that money in the market, if you're someone who thinks this is happening for me, then you're able to pivot into something that's more meaningful and more lucrative than if you got bogged down in the thinking of, I'm just cursed, or if you dwelled upon that loss rather than decided to grow from it, that's, I think, the mindset a lot of people find themselves stuck in.
Well, logically, you said all the right things, but in the moment, I wasn't as spiritual, and in the moment, I was royally pissed off.
Oh, I'm sure. And that doesn't mean you never get pissed off. It just means okay, if I'm thinking about the greatest possible outcome I could produce from something that seems negative at the time, think this is happening for me, and if that were a design, what might the answer be? Maybe it's leading you to something better. You just don't see it in that moment.
Well, no, I practice what you just said. I practice and I preach, and I practice what I preach, because I always tell people, what the problems are in life. The problem isn't really the problem. It's your perception of it. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, stop putting so much energy into complaining about what's wrong. Put all your energy into the solution, mm-hmm. so that you could start to move on, so that you could fix the situation and it's no longer a problem, or you can make things better. And to go back and say, but if only this, if only that, what if this, what if that, if they were earlier, if they came later, if this happened, if I wasted time, I wasted money. Blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is all that doesn't mean jack crap. It's what you have in the moment is what you have. And so while we're in the moment, what is the best thing that we can do while we're in the moment? Because the moment's all you have. The situation in the moment's what you have. You could bitch and complain until the cows come home, and on an egotistic level, I'll say, you know what? You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. How many times do you want to hear? You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. I'm not arguing with you. But right now we have a situation. So what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Now get out of my face.
All right, we're going to have to take a quick break, and which we're just pretending it's a break on this one, but I'm just finding a stopping point, and we'll come back here shortly and finish out. All right? So if you stick around on the line, it'll be about a minute, just so I can have a clear break in the show for when it goes out over the air. So we'll be back here shortly on The Life.
I lived in fear of an angry man who was fond of beer. So I took his gun, fled through the night. I learned to steal just to get by. A boy, his parents dead. I caught him thieving from me while I slept. Now he's just trying to eat. He don't wanna die, so we steal just to get by. Kid is torn, his heart is set on something more. Says he's had enough, says that this ain't right, but he don't wanna steal just to get by. So I told him go and find your path. You got too much to offer for me to hold you back. No, I can't change, but I know I'll find in all the thistles that have filled my life.
All right, welcome back to the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith, sitting in with my guest co-host, Erica Russell.
Hey, gang.
We still have Artie Hoffman on the line with us from Jersey.
Yes, you haven't shook me loose yet.
Nope. Well, we haven't been trying. We have. I tried a little bit this morning when I got the time wrong, but other than that,
that's all right. Don't worry about it.
Now I know we can just blame on Mercury retrograde.
It's all Mercury's fault.
From now on, anytime something goes wrong, I'm going to look that up and say, okay, this is why I screwed up. It wasn't me.
Right.
It was Mercury.
That's right. Got to blame someone.
Exactly, or just a whole planet. I'll blame a whole planet for my problems. Well, welcome back. We've been talking about, of course, Mercury retrograde and a lot of other things. Just a lot of more life advice than anything else, I think.
Well, it is called the Life Radio Show.
It is the Life Radio Show. Yeah, we'll figure it out one way or another.
Yeah, this is from a totally different perspective and in a way that most people don't talk about. I mean, unless if it is directly just a spiritual program, but it's nice because I know, like a lot of times when I'm with other people, I'm just hanging out, just in conversation. Put it this way, spirituality is always going to take precedent of a conversation because people are intrigued with it, or most people don't know about it, or it's like a totally different language to them. So before I even go there with people, I'd like to know more about what other people are doing. I ask people, so what do you do, or what's interest? Because I know once they say, well, what do you do? It's like the whole conversation just goes right to me and the spirituality. And everyone has an interesting story about their life. And I don't care who you are. Everyone has an interesting perception. Their lifestyle. You could come from the same family and being the youngest one or the oldest one or the middle child. Everyone has a different perception of their experiences. And I think that's absolutely fascinating about life.
I agree. I've always said something similar already in terms of this isn't something that I have ever sort of advertised about myself in terms of, being able to read stuff. But, you get even a scientist or a doctor a couple cocktails in, right? And they find out that oh, you read natal charts or you read cards or whatever. I mean, even the most skeptical person is interested in themselves. And let's say it is all hocus pocus, which, I don't believe. I think it's it's intuitive intelligence, basically. But let's say it is. I mean, it's a really helpful practice in just self-assessment and getting in touch with yourself. To me, I think half of what you do as a good reader is provide therapy in a less clinical environment where people feel a little bit more open. And it's, but once you roll it out as a party trick, it's like you're the main event for the rest of the night. People are elbowing each other do me. Nobody wants to say they're interested in this stuff, but almost everyone is.
No, they are. And the ones who aren't, who say they don't believe in it, those are the ones who are afraid of it because they're afraid of what they don't understand.
Right. Why would it pose a threat to anyone?
I'm sorry?
I'm saying, why would it pose a threat to anybody? You know what I mean? Why would anyone be so defensive? It could be
because of their religious background.
Right.
Or if it's not physically tangible, it's like, you could look that up in the internet, or you could do this, you could do that. It's like there's, but a lot of it is, when people are afraid of it, it's because what they were taught in their religious beliefs. Yeah. And I said, look, if you're saying what I do, it's all what your intentions are behind your actions. Correct. Is what makes something right or wrong. So I tell people, I said, if you're saying that what I do is the devil's work, I said, then I got to shake the hand of the devil and thank him because he's really helped me heal a lot of people emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So, it's all what your intentions are. But it was interesting. Long story short, there was a fellow at a restaurant. He was with a group of friends. And he goes, I don't know. He found out that one of his friends asked me what I did for a living. I told him, he goes, that's hocus pocus. That's bullcrap. That John, they look up information on the internet. They can get your information in a heartbeat and you just tell people about themselves. He goes, well, you think you could read me? I said, yeah, I know I could, but he says, well, do you mind? Give it a shot. He's being like the arrogant one. Give me a shot. So I says, all right, come over here. So he walked across the table, because my table was next to theirs at a restaurant. That's how it happened. So I held his hand, and I said, you're looking for a very important piece of jewelry that's very valuable to you, and you can't find it. And he goes, oh, my God. He goes,
Yeah.
how did you know that? He goes, just yesterday. He goes, I had workmen in my house working on my bathroom. I had my mother's wedding ring on the sill of the window, and it's gone. I said, well, it's stolen. I said, one of the guys took it. He goes, how did you know that? I said, it was easy. I looked on the internet.
That's the thing. If I book a job,
I just looked up your information. I saw it on the internet.
Yeah, if I book a job, I make sure that I don't have the client's last name. I specifically say, you know what I mean? So when I go in there and I read, there's no, question of whether I could have looked this up.
No, well, people don't. I mean, people who are skeptic doesn't bother me at all.
It's kind of fun to prove them wrong, honestly, but there's some people, their orientation is always going to be the first thing they want to do is prove you wrong, and
Right, and I'm here. I said, listen, whether you think I'm right or wrong makes no difference. I'm telling them my gut feelings. So when I give them information, they go, no, 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 or it's never going to happen, which usually things do, but they say it's never going to happen. I go, because they said right now it makes no sense whatsoever.
It will.
And I say to them, I said, I'm not looking for your approval. I said, I'm just telling you my gut instincts.
Yeah.
I've never had a reading. So I will say here in a bit, Erica is going to give me my first reading. So I don't know that I'm a skeptic or that I believe it. I really don't know.
It's just that you don't understand it because it's never been a part of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real. It is true. And there are more people that are more open to be read for some reason. Some people, because of their energy or where they are in their life, are not meant to be read. You can't read everybody, but most people I can, and or give them at least a something.
Here's a question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Artie, but I'm really interested in your opinion on this. Do you think it's teachable? I do. I think 100%. It's intuitive intelligence, and I think anyone, if they want to do it, can learn how to get there and do it.
You have to have a desire for it or a passion for it, like I did. I was taught. So you said, can it be taught? Of course, I'm living proof.
Right. I think anyone can be. It's intuitive intelligence. It's tapping into something that I believe is already alive and a fact of the human brain, but because we don't tend to teach it, people relegate it into this area of taboo or hocus pocus,
Again, it's based on their religious beliefs, a lot of them, or if they never...
Limiting beliefs.
Even if they're not religious, but if they've never been exposed to it, they go, oh, it's all poppycock or it's all crap. It's only because they've never experienced it before. So their fear creates the reason of why it's not true or why it's bullcrap.
And I don't think religion and this stuff are mutually exclusive, do you? I don't think so at all.
Wait, say that again?
I don't think that having a religious doctrine should be mutually exclusive to the kind of thing that we do. I think, in other words, I think they're in harmony. You know what I mean? I don't think that this stuff is like a cult.
No. There are people, unfortunately, like every single job in the world, there are people who are really good, and then there are people who really suck or manipulative, and they use it to their advantage rather than helping out the public, but they use it to manipulate the public. So it doesn't mean just because there's a few bad apples out there, it doesn't mean the whole thing is a sham or a scam. That's not it at all. It's just that you have a few people who use the energy in a negative way rather than a positive way.
Yeah.
I was raised in a Jewish family. I'm not very religious, but I am extremely spiritual. I 100% believe in God and the angels and the saints, and I get all my messages from the white light. And so I just share the love and the energy in that way and to help out people. And sometimes people come in for answers about certain topics, and I end up giving them answers from a totally different realm of they weren't even expecting.
Yep.
And it's whatever's meant to be in that moment.
I think for me, the most credible people I've met, and I operate this way, is there are some questions somebody will ask me if I'm reading, and if I don't get anything, I'll tell them I don't get anything on that, and it's because I'm not supposed to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think that's when you know you're dealing with someone credible, because if you're dealing with a charlatan, they're going to tell you whatever you want to hear. But there are times that it won't come through, and it's because it's not meant to. It's because, either that person, it has to be up to their free will. They're not supposed to know, any kind of outcome or potential energy coming in yet. That's the way that I operate, but that's always, to me, what differentiated, the real deal people from, people just trying to make a buck and take advantage of human nature.
There are people who have come to me, they want to know, like, a lot of it's about love. And they say, is the guy or the girl ever going to come back into my life? And if I see a no, or it's not meant to be, I'll tell them that, even though they want to hear opposite. But these other psychics told me that they're going to come back, and they're not. I say, look, well, then maybe I suck at this one, but I'm just letting you know that this is what I'm getting, and this is what I really feel. I say to them, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, the good news is I'm not God and I'm not right 100% of the times. The bad news is I'm right most of the times.
Yep.
And so, and the difference between a psychic or an intuitive person compared to somebody who's not, call it your average Joe or person, whatever, is that a psychic pays attention to their first gut instincts without question, and you share your thoughts with the person regardless. You share with them your first gut instincts. A regular person, when they get a message in their gut, they bring it to their mind, and then they overanalyze it, and that's when you're screwed. Mm-hmm. And it keeps a lot of people stuck or away from answers. So if I'm emotionally attached to the question, or if I'm emotionally attached to the person and they want to know some heavy-duty answers, I might not be. I mean, if you're a stranger, I'm going to be able to tell you black and white. But if I personally know you, it could be a little hard, because emotionally, of course, I want the best for you. But
it's almost like a judge recusing himself from a case. You know what I mean? If I can't, exactly to your point, if I can't get a really pure, clear reading because I have too much context or attachment to you to be able to do it without bias, I have no business doing it.
Yeah, because you don't know if it's coming through your ego, from yourself, or if it's coming through spiritually.
Yep.
So what happens is, like, I do a Facebook Live show every Sunday night at 8 p.m. It's called Angels and Answers. And so I do it for free for an hour. So people from literally around the country, around the world, will go to angelsandanswers.com or go to my website. There's a link to it. And so people ask questions about their life or want to communicate to their loved ones. And I have an assistant right there, and she'll read off the questions, and I just simply look at the camera and I answer it. I can't read, look at the camera, read, look at the camera. I can't, because it takes away. So people will ask me certain big-time questions. Do I have cancer, or do I have, am I going to get together with this person, or am I going to get this job? Now, depending how I feel in that emotional moment, I might not be able to give them a biased answer. So what I do is I have my angel cards, and I'll look at my angel cards, and I can read cards very well. So when I want to know the outcomes, I look at my cards and I read the cards, and the cards are telling me this answer. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell people the answer based on what the cards are seeing. That's my perception. Yeah. And I tell people right on camera, I said, look, I would love to tell everybody the best of news. And it could be the best of news, but it might be the worst of news. I said, but right now, emotionally, I'm too connected to wanting to give you just what you want to hear. So I'm going to look at the angel cards right now and see what they say, and then I'm going to tell you the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The cards can be sort of a good insurance policy against letting your empathetic or ego drives get involved in what you're reading. You know what I mean? There's sort of, it's a way to sort of get away from your own desire to comfort and give someone, probably what's actually going on. I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm also not, and I tell people this before I read for them all the time, is like, I can't tell you what the future is. I'm not one of these people who thinks it's preordained. I can tell you what the future is based on the energy that you're bringing here today. And if that energy remains where it's at, this is the likely outcome of it. But you are free to change your energy or your orientation at any time, and that changes outcomes, All I can read for is the person sitting here today and what they're putting out in their circumstances right now.
What I believe I can fly. What I believe. Now, what I believe is that there are certain things that are destined to happen come hell to high water. There are certain things in your future that will happen. Do I feel like there's a lot of things that are left to be unsaid according to your choices in life, your free will? Definitely the answer is yes to that. So there are times where people will give me a question or want to know an answer about something, and I'll say, come hell to high, it's definitely, this is what I see happening. This is who you're going to meet. This is where it's going to be, what's going to happen from it. But these are a course of events of what I see happening in your future. But then there's times where it has to do with a relationship. Say, Artie, what do you see with this relationship? Well, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And if you do that, this is what's going to happen. If you go over here, that's what's going to happen. All right, well, what do you see me doing? I don't know. That's your free will.
Yeah, that's
I
up
just
to you.
told you what to expect based on your choices. I could tell you what I would do if I was in your position, but I'm not emotionally attached. But I could tell you what the healthiest move is. But if you do this and that, then this is what's going to happen.
Yep.
And I got to tell you a funny story. I'm going to tell you two quick stories that I think you're going to appreciate. One of them is when I'm on Facebook Live. And it makes me laugh every single time a girl says to me, Artie, do you see me getting pregnant soon? And I say, yeah, once you stop looking at me and get off my show and get in the bedroom, I said, you have a better chance of getting pregnant.
I had one of those recently.
Yeah, they say, do you see me getting pregnant soon?
Yeah.
I said, you need to get in the bedroom and get busy and stop watching my show. That's what I said. But then there was a girl who came into my home office, and she walked in and she says, Artie, she says, I've been thinking about you every single day for the last 2 years. And I was extremely flattered. I wasn't attracted to her, but I was extremely flattered. And I said,
thinking
right.
about you in a romantic sense.
Yeah, I'm thinking romance. I mean, what the hell? Why else? I don't know. I have no clue. So, but the first thing is romance. So anyway, I said to her, I said, okay, with a smile. I said, okay, so why were you thinking about me for the last 2 years? She said, 2 years ago, you read for me. Now, mind you, I don't remember jack crap what I say to people in readings, and I don't remember most people that I read. I'm in a different state of mind. So the girl said to me, we sat at this kitchen table 2 years ago, and you held my hand, and you said to me, the first thing that you said to me when you held my hand, you heard a song in your head, because I hear a lot of messages in song.
I do too.
And I heard the song, Highway to Hell, I'm going to Highway to Hell. And I was singing the song by AC/DC to her the moment I held her hand. And I looked at her and I said, you said to me that if I don't change my ways real soon, if I don't stop doing what I'm doing right now, I'm going to get caught and I'm going to get thrown in jail. And she goes, 1 week later, she goes, I didn't listen to you and I got caught at doing something I shouldn't have done. And I got thrown in jail for 2 years.
Wow.
And every day I woke up and I said to myself, why didn't I listen to Artie? So it was that's just one of countless stories that have happened. But that's, like I said, I love doing what I love to do. And, Don, you need to stop being a Mr. Nice Guy because you're allowing too many people to bust your balls and they want what they want. And you're not being strong enough on the big picture on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to be too much of a nice guy to too many people, and you're not looking at your business strong enough in a business sense to do what needs to be done. And you're trying to be overly accommodating, and that's why you're not where you should be right now or where you could be right now. And I was just picking that up intuitively.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That is very true. That is very true.
And when I was just zeroing in. Not that I was listening to any songs, but I'm hearing you listening to other people. But you say it to yourself, why you got to bust my balls? Why are you always busting my balls? It's like, why and people who are relentless to you, you just got to knock them out of your life. You only want to work with people who have the main goal at hand to be successful or to think on your behalf too, and not just from their point of view. People who are looking at your business just from their point of view, what you could do for them and not what they could also do in return. It's got to be a give and take. You do way too much giving, and you're allowing other people to suck the life out of you, and they're feeling too. What's the word I'm looking for?
Entitled.
Entitled. There are people feeling too entitled around you, and it's like, all right, you need to rework your game plan for your business so that you could be successful at it and do what it takes. And it's like the ones who pull through for you or the ones who make the money for you. That's where you got to think more business, and you're being too nice, and that's why you're not where you belong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But your problem is you don't know how to be a nice guy because you want to be a nice guy. It's who you are by nature. And I'm not saying that you have to be a prick to be successful, but at the same token, you just don't want to be taken advantage of.
Right.
And I'm a nice guy, and everyone, you could tell I'm a nice guy. But you want to know something? I'm a nice guy under my terms, under my circumstances. And I'll give you an example. My daughter, who I love to death, she wanted to move into my place for a short period of time, and I said, absolutely. I said, but you're not smoking. She likes to smoke cigarettes. She likes to smoke weed, but she needs the weed to help her medical reasons. And I said, you're not. I said, you could smoke outside. I said, you're never going to smoke in my place. I said, I don't like it. And I said, and as far as your boyfriend goes, who I'm not wild about, I said, you could stay here until your place is ready. I said, but I'm not taking him in also. I said, and you got to work that out. So if you want to be with me, I will take care of you, but it's got to be under my terms. And you'll be very well taken care of. But I can't just, and I've learned from experience. I've allowed other people to come in, and I allowed them just to be them, but they ruined my crap, and they ruined my stuff. They didn't respect me or my place. I said, screw this. This is never going to happen again. Right. And so now I honor myself. And you might think I'm a prick, or you might think I'm a jerk or selfish or I'm greedy or cheap or whatever. Call me whatever you want. But I know who I really am, and I know my limitations.
Yeah. I think those are very reasonable boundaries to set, first of all. And I also, that resonates a lot with me because I think especially if you are an especially empathic person, and you want to bend over backwards to support everyone in your life, it becomes doubly important to start consciously setting boundaries because it's not the instinct of people like you and I to do. You know what I mean? It's something, setting appropriate boundaries is something I'm still learning, as a 34-year-old adult. There are times I have to say, like, it's okay for me to have my own needs to maintain my own sanity, and it's okay to, it's necessary to set those boundaries because I think, people who are more empathetic and sensitive and they want to help everyone, you can end up, neglecting your own needs to the extent that you're of no use to anyone because you're not taking care of your own self, That's one of the biggest problems that people have. They give away more than what they can afford to give, and they have such empathy for their family members or their kids or their friends that they end up taking away their food money or their electric money or part of their mortgage, whatever, to give away, and then they wallow in the crap wondering how come they don't have enough money because they've given away too many of their resources and people don't pull through enough for them. And so they're spiritual vampires, or they just take away from you. And so there are people who think I'm way too generous to certain people. And I know what my limitations are. Right. I know I love giving to people. I love helping out people. I love being generous. But again, it will be when I could afford it and in the way that I'm comfortable with. So, if I see somebody garbage picking because they're looking for food, like a lot of times I like to go to New York City, I'll go right up to them. I won't think twice about giving them $5 or $10 so they have, they get food. Now they could buy it for drugs or alcohol or whatever, but I'm not judging them.
So you have a choice.
I say
Either
the same thing.
Yeah. So either you could be emotionally fed by your drink or your drugs or whatever, or you could be physically fed and buy food. But that's your choice. I'm
Right.
here to help you. You have an opportunity to do something right with it. And if you choose just to do something stupid with it, well, then that's your choice. But I gave you an opportunity to have food or whatever.
Right. The limitations of your role in that situation are I can either give or not give. And your responsibility for what that person does with that gift is not up to you. It's all you
Right.
can control is what you do as a person, what's important to you, and how you conduct yourself in that situation, you know?
When I'm in Atlantic City or when I was in Vegas and people are asking me for money, I won't give them money. I'll give them food under those circumstances. I'll buy it. You want a
Right.
sandwich or you want a drink? I'll buy it for you. I'm not going to give you money because I really believe then they're going to use it for gambling, and that's different.
Right.
I'm not going to let them have that choice of gambling money and just. And I just don't believe that. I don't like that at all. You know. And there was a time when I was in Penn Station, and somebody came up to me while we were waiting for my wife and I were waiting for the train, and somebody asked me for some money. So I gave him $5, and they walked away. And another fella came up to me, and goes, "Hey, Mister," he goes, "Let me ask you a question." He goes, "Did I just see you give that guy $5?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Why?" He goes, "Why did you give that guy $5?" I said, "It's my way of showing God my thank you for giving me a good quality of life. And I'm helping out one of his children." And I said, "I'd rather be the person who's in a position to give away a free $5 than the person who needs a free $5.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, when people ask me that, why'd you give that guy money? I mean, it just makes me laugh. Why wouldn't I? If I can, and it's not going to put me on the street.
You're actually investing in your own soul. When
No
you're doing
kidding. It's how you define yourself. It's like, you know, I try to make my decisions based on how I'm going to feel about them at the moment of my death, right? When I'm going through all of Erica's greatest regrets, you know, on a film reel in my mind, giving a homeless guy $5 is not going to make the list, you know? Like, I'm not
Right.
going to regret
It's not going
doing
to change
that.
your lifestyle.
No, and you know, I'm certainly not going to regret doing it. I can't. It disturbs me how much we just walk by each other and pretend like we're not all human beings. You know, how people become invisible when they're beset with difficulties, and it's so easy for us to say, like, to justify not doing anything by believing that they must have done something wrong to end up in this position. That is, it's not always the case. In fact, it's not usually the case. And, you know, even the best of us and most comfortable of us are only a few misfortunes away from being in that situation ourselves. So I mean, it's non-negotiable for me. If I got $1, someone's going to get it.
Like I said,
won't feel
I'm not going to hurt myself. One of my good friends said to me, which I'll never forget, he goes, "Artie, I don't mind being generous to people, but I'll be damned if I'm going to sink my ship to try to save someone else's."
Correct. Right. And that happens not just with money, but with love, too.
Oh, it has to do with
love
your
is
energy
a commodity.
and time,
your
whatever
energy,
it is.
your time is a commodity. All these things are commodities.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was younger and I was at a go-go bar with my friends, and my friend said to me, "Why do you give her $20? I hear she puts out." You kidding me? No, I'm only kidding.
Are you?
No, I don't pay. I've never paid for sex my entire life, and homie, don't play that game.
All right. Well, as much as I hate to do it, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you calling in and talking to us, and I'm still kind of thinking about what you said.
It was spot
I'm sure
on.
you will.
Yes.
Knowing Don, it was spot on.
And Erica will elaborate more on that. And you guys, everyone who wants to get a phone reading, I'm just as accurate over the phone as I am in person. If you guys, Erica and Don, if you want to reach me personally, you know, you can go to artiehoffman@gmail.com, or my phone number is 732-778-7173. And like I said, I have a Facebook Live show Sunday nights, Angels and Answers, so at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you go to artiehoffman.com, there's a link right to it. And, we'll hook you up.
Well, thanks so much for calling in. I really appreciate that.
This was an absolute pleasure. It was great meeting and talking with you, Artie.
Well, it was my pleasure as well. And I look forward to speaking to you again sometime soon.
Over a spot of tea, perhaps. Got very fancy there at the end.
We'll
Absolutely.
go to Don's place and we'll have a pint together.
There you go. There you go. All right. Thanks a lot, Artie. It's been a
Stay well,
pleasure.
guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy holidays.
You too.
Okay, hon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Life Radio Show podcast. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, if you want to listen live, we are on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM. You can also stream the show live at wwsu1069.org, and we go Facebook Live at the Life Radio Show's Facebook page. If you have suggestions or comments, feel free to email thelife1069@gmail.com.
Presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
I believe I can fly.